What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Sam Meggs with Ratchet and Clank and with Rivet. Now, this was something that I was debating. Whether I should talk about it or not. You know, sometimes I get very passionate. Actually, a lot of times I get very passionate in these videos, and I'm going to try not to say anything that upsets the YouTube overlords or stuff. But I really don't think it would be me if I ignore this. I really don't think it would be the channel, where I'm kind of known partially for talking about and calling out the, all this garbage that happens in the entertainment industry, as well as massively in the gaming industry. And Sam Meggs could be, depends on who you are, somebody that you have heard before. She is somebody that's very, very vocal online. She gets a lot of jobs. She leaves a lot of jobs. She's very well known for having quite a problem with Grand Theft Auto Online. You can look up stuff of interviews that she has done in the past. She's basically a laughingstock. She's not, from my opinion, she is not a good person. And this recent example of Ratchet and Clank really, I think, sums it up rather well. This is a person that was working there. She was actually a lead there for quite some time. Now, I don't like that. I'm not the biggest fan of that idea, just in terms of her talent level. And what ended up happening is she left the company. She quit, and she is doing something that I think you kind of see quite often in a lot of different industries, where, everything's good and fine when they're there, and then when they leave, all of a sudden you start to hear, oh, well, I'm going to start complaining, basically, right? I'm not busy at the moment. I'm not, in the industry, maybe right now. I don't actually know what she's up to. I know she left the Knights of the Old Republic remake, which a lot of people, including myself, were very worried about her being in the Knights of the Old Republic remake as a writer. I don't know why you need a writer for a remake of a game anyway. You should just use the same, stuff that you did. But also somebody with her record and what she's talked about on Twitter, and she doesn't seem like the nicest person of all time. She doesn't really seem to respect many people, specifically fans of Star Wars. So there were a lot of issues there as well. And so, again, things are a little bit quiet right now, and so she comes out with this stuff talking about Rivet and Ratchet and Clank, and basically she claims credit for the name. She doesn't fully do this, but she goes into detail of how the name was chosen and how it was actually, well, it's funny, right? Because I believe they left her name out. That was like the big thing. The IGN did an article, and they were talking about all these rejected names. I don't know if her name's even mentioned in the credits of Ratchet and Clank. She only worked there for like a year and a half. She left, and her name, I don't think, was in the credits. Now, I would say this, and this could be controversial because I know a lot of people, including myself, don't really like her. If you worked on a game for any period of time, you probably should appear in the, when you're saying everybody who worked on the game, if you had a hand in any way of working on the game, you should be recognized. So I will say that maybe that was a low blow. Maybe this IGN article not including her, maybe that was a, whatever the situation, her name should have been mentioned. All right, fine, I'll side with her. But you don't need to throw a temper tantrum online, which is exactly what she did. And she made things much, much worse for herself, right? So first, she says she was part of the naming process for Rivet, although she actually was called out by an intern at Insomniac that said, well, actually, you weren't the one to come up with the name Rivet, even though Sam Meggs basically said she did. She wanted to have like a hard T at the end. She wanted 2 syllables. She kind of went through the thinking, but they had a list of names, and the entire studio, or like a group of people at least, they voted on the name. Now, again, it comes across in her description as if she is the sole, reason that Rivet's name is Rivet, and so she should get some sort of massive credit for that, although she's being called out and saying that's not what happened. Then she likes to make a scene, right? So she came out on Twitter as well with the IGN article to say that Rivet is canonically a lesbian. Now, there's nothing wrong with being whatever, okay? Any character being whatever in a game. But this is a classic example of a character who is very clearly, or maybe doesn't come across at all like she is that. And then this person who wants to be, this warrior for these ideologies online, she likes to throw that in afterwards. It's actually a lot like I would imagine the Dumbledore thing for Harry Potter. It's like, if these characters are the way that they are, could you please show me some actual proof in the game? Not saying you're not allowed to do that, not saying that would ruin the character, because honestly, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what Ratchet's orientation is. I don't think so. In fact, I don't really want that stuff to be mentioned in Ratchet and Clank in the first place. You shouldn't be seeing the intricacies of relationships in Ratchet and Clank in the first place, I think. But whatever, if you want to have a scene or several scenes in there to show what she is, right? If you want to make her a lesbian, fine. But here's the thing, again, you're just doing it for Twitter points. Truly, and this is what Sam Meggs does, is she does things for Twitter points, right? There's no evidence of that. Now, again, it could be true or false that that's what she is, but nobody said anything. There's no evidence of that in the game. And here you have this person, right, who is this, kind of figure, and she says it, and she's like adding the Ratchet and Clank wiki, right? It's like, no, can you change her, to be a lesbian on the thing? It's like, oh my dear God, right? So you had that. Then you had her long rant about removing basically her breasts, that she had breasts in the game originally, okay? And she threw basically a gigantic temper tantrum. She, for what it sounds like, in her own words, she would get into fights and she would say out loud very kind of inappropriate things in the office. She would just go around shouting a certain phrase. I'm not going to say it for YouTube purposes, but she would just say certain phrases out loud. And she admitted in her own Twitter post that she could tell that like upset people, or that was kind of like weirded people out. So she's going around the office, she's making a fool of herself, she's doing these things to cause confrontations to her. Again, you had people speaking out saying, hey, there was never really an issue with her breasts. Like, you could basically, what it sounds like behind the scenes is that it was an issue that only she had a problem with. Only Sam Meggs had a problem with that, and actually people are kind of pointing out things in the past with Ratchet and Clank games. We won't go there in this video, but it seems like only she had an issue, and she thought, okay, well, this is like my time to shine, and so I'm going to make a really big deal about this, a bigger deal than we really need to, and I'm going to actually upset people. I'm going to become this like loudmouth in the office. I'm going to like make people uncomfortable while working around me, and I'm going to do this. Oh, and then by the way, when I get my way, when we all accomplish my goal, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to say it was the workplace environment. Now, of course, she leaves and she says, well, everybody was very nice to me. It was one of the best offices I've ever been in, stuff like that. But everything else you said, by the way, kind of contradicts that. I love it when people say that, like, oh, there was this kind of harassment and this kind of stuff in the workplace, but overall, phenomenal group of folks there. It's like, wait, but both those things can't be true. Now, yes, in certain circumstances, but it's funny because based off of what she said, my take on it is this is a person who wanted to take kind of like a social justice, stance on these things, which again, like if everybody agreed and it really isn't that big of a deal, which by the way, these things really shouldn't be a big deal, but people make them bigger deals than they should be, and she's one of them. So when she's making these things a big deal, when she's being the one making everybody else uncomfortable, okay? And by the way, she's so basically, and people are calling her out for this, you can't really have both. And I think people are kind of realizing this in the grand scope of the world. So she wants a very strong, like, female-centric character in Rivet, but then you don't want her to have breasts at all, which is commonly a female trait. So you want a female strong character, then you're going to say she's a lesbian, fine, but you're not going to give her a trait of a female, right? So it's like, well, what exactly, you know what I mean? Now, again, you could go into the Lombaxes and their lore and stuff, but I think just generally looking at it that way, that's a little hypocritical of yourself, right? That you're trying to fight for women, but then actually you don't really want that character to even be a woman. You want it to kind of be like a neutral character, which, again, like that, having a character, or if that's what you want Lombax is to be, like they're really, the gender and all that stuff, like it's kind of ambiguous and there really isn't one, whatever, that's fine, that's the lore, do whatever you want to do, but everything's forced behind this ideology and behind seemingly like just a couple people that want this. And again, when you have people kind of coming out from Insomniac saying like, hey, I was there and you were the one making people uncomfortable, in fact, other people came in to break up the fights that you started, it's like, well, sounds like you're the issue. And then again, she's the one who quits, maybe gets fired, we don't really know. She, again, leaving Knights of the Old Republic too, right? So she's leaving. Is she fired from these places or not? But my biggest thing, I guess this is kind of my grand, final statement. It really just doesn't seem like she's well-liked anywhere. And I don't understand. And again, like, I don't want people living on the side of the road. I don't want people like with zero money, like bankrupt, right? But somebody who seems to only stay at a place for like a year and a half at any place, leaves, is unpopular, makes everybody mad online. Like, yes, of course she's got her, the 5-10,000 Twitter likes that you get. You can say a lot of things on Twitter and get 5-10,000 likes if you say the right things, right? Let's not kid around. So it doesn't really seem like to the vast audience she attacks Star Wars fans. She's making a big deal out of this Ratchet and Clank stuff when nobody's really asking for it. She's antagonizing Insomniac really for no reason, if we're being real, right? Again, like leaving your name out of the credits and stuff, that is something worth fighting over, but the thing is, she's making it about all these other issues. It's almost as if she doesn't care about the credit stuff. She's just using that as her in to say, oh yeah, and while I'm here, while I'm saying, I wasn't recognized for my work, which is, again, valid. If you worked there for 5 months, you should get recognition. I believe that. So I do agree. But to use that as your stepping stone and say, oh, well, here's my chance. So let me make a controversial statement. Let me say she's a lesbian, okay? Let me also say that I'm the one who came up with the name, even though I really didn't. I was kind of part of a group that came up with several names that were voted on for one. But let me take credit for that. You know what I mean? Let me do this. That's not really how you get jobs. Well, the thing is, this is how you get jobs, and that's the sad thing. It's not really about talent. She'd be a fantastic gaming journalist, I believe, right? I'm sure she's dabbled in it before. These are these kind of people. See, I told you it would get a little edgy, a little spicy. Look, at the end of the day, I don't hate many people on planet Earth. It's like a very short list. I don't wish for anything truly evil to happen to Sam Meggs. I don't care about her as a person. I think she's got a very antagonistic mindset. I don't think I'd ever become friends with her. I don't exactly want her around my favorite franchises. I'll be flat out honest and say those things. She just seems like somebody who, again, has these ideologies, and she's going to force them in. She's going to make big deals out of things when they shouldn't be. She doesn't seem to be well-liked. She doesn't really stay in jobs very much, which leads me to question her talent level, okay? And then when she does get in, or then when she leaves, then she throws like a big fit about the time she was in. Not the best way to get future jobs, but again, for some reason, people like this, and people, we talk about gaming journalists on this channel, for some reason, these people continuously get jobs. So I don't know why they continuously get jobs, but they do. And until they don't, and again, that's not a cancel culture, because it's not. I'm actually violently against cancel culture. That's are you like a good talent? Like, are you actually worth the job that we're giving you? It's earning it. It's about earning things. And it's about just, do you have like your place here? And if you don't, or you don't have the talent, you shouldn't be around. And, the jury's still up on all that stuff. We'll see where she goes next after, making a big fuss about Ratchet and Clank. We'll see what she says about Knights of the Old Republic, right? Because again, like, I don't actually see why Knights of the Old Republic should have had a writing team in the first place. Okay, again, a little exaggeratory. I'm sure you should have some, but in reality, do you really need lead writers on a remake game of a really amazing game when you should be just taking that and using it? I don't really need like half the game to be brand new. You know what I mean? You don't have to add like a new 50%. So if that's what she came in for, I'm not really a fan of that. So we'll see where she lands up next. It'll probably be at one of our favorite game franchise studios, the next job she gets. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. Let me know, your thoughts on her, on the gaming industry in general in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next video.